when we say we're sorry, what is really happening? If we say, hey, I apologize for this, are we really taking that ownership? What we were talking about early on and using Brene Brown, how when she's hurt someone, she stops listening and builds her defense. What happens? Let's unpack this real quick right now of what is it about saying we're sorry? What do you think's going on with us as individuals when we use that word, when we apologize? Hello, Shannon.
Hi, Chico.
We're back on Filter Optional.
Yes, you say that every time. We're back.
I love our title, how we're on, all these different platforms that people can look up and actually listen to all our episodes. We're getting a lot of likes and listens on the little 1 minute clips that you put up, and you're doing a great job on that. And it's called Filter Optional. We've been spending a lot of time talking about the messy middle. It's like, I'm not going to, but my impulsive nature is let's just rename the messy middle. I know we're not doing that, but that was my impulsive.
But
thought.
Here's the thing is you can absolutely, we can add a messy middle podcast. I mean, we can do all of that where it's anyway, that's neither here nor there and can be
I was just
added.
telling you about my impulsivity, which is part of the messy middle, is like how you avoid it is through
impulsivity. And it's also not good planning when no one, it would just be random. It's just like jumping the shark, like totally whatever, going overboard.
And it kind of goes into why the name of our podcast is so relevant to us. Filter Optional. You definitely are the filter. You just filtered me, right there in this little 1 minute time.
Yes.
And yes. I need a lot of filtering.
Yes, you do. And our old tagline was, living out loud, doing the work out loud so that other people could be helped. And we still do that. So, anyway.
Well, yeah, literally last night, we're going to go visit a friend, in England, and we're talking to her and on speakerphone on how to get to her place and stuff like that. And we're making, train reservations and doing all this in August. And she goes, maybe I should tape this and y'all can put this on Filter Optional.
Yes, because here's the thing. So people can probably relate to this and then we can get into kind of our topic. But you have been a failure at travel planning. You just have. I'm sorry. I don't want to get into all the mistakes and balls
I like that you said you're sorry, because we're going to talk about that word.
I know, but sorry, not sorry. Okay, because I don't even want you. Listen, I don't want you to get into defending.
I'm not going to. I'm listening to you.
You were about to. Okay. Anyway, so we were trying to make just buy train tickets and learn the channel system and the train system and which station we needed to stop at and all that. Well, they have apps for that now. So back when you were in Europe, living in Europe for a year, that was 35 years ago?
34, yeah.
Okay. And they didn't have apps for that. We didn't even have phones. Okay. And so when our friend is trying to tell us what to do, you had your computer and you're just clacking away on your computer. And I'm trying to tell you, get your phone and put it on the apps because.
Wait,
and then I talked to our friend.
What am I showing you? What am I showing
hold on.
you?
Stop. No one can see that. Okay. And I'm really going to get angry because you got the app after the fact. Okay. You got it after the fact because you were hell-bent on getting it all there. Now, even having the app, I talked to our friend today who helped us do all of this. And she said, I couldn't say it over the phone, but I was totally on your side because you're correct that there can be signal disruption where you can't pull things up on your phone. And I said, well, that's why I screenshot tickets and I print them out and I have hard copies. And I go, it helps alleviate. This is the messy middle for me because it helps alleviate my travel anxiety. So it is a tool that I use to help alleviate my travel anxiety. I should be allowed to do that. But you were like, I've got it. I've got it. We're not printing it out. We're not doing all this. And it's like,
I mean, I'm really trying to listen to, I'm trying to listen with the same intent. I want to be heard. Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing you that I was saying, no, we're not printing it out. I don't think I said that.
Yes, you were. You were pushing my hand away and you were like, it won't print. It can't print. See, it can't print. And I was like, just give me a second.
I didn't say it. I didn't say we're not going to print it. I said it won't print.
I know, Chico, but then it took everything out of me to say, please just screenshot it and send it to me. And it took me telling you it's a part of my travel anxiety. And like, can we just print it up? And can we just have it in case there's no signal, like in a big stadium, when you go to a stadium? Like, I have friends that went to the Taylor Swift concert in Nashville, Tennessee, and they couldn't get the signal to download their tickets and they had to eat them. Ooh. I mean, ooh. Yeah. I mean, it's not about the money, because my friend today that had helped us with the ticket, she was like, I mean, train tickets are expensive or whatever, or it's money. You don't want to. And I go, it's not about the money. It's about my travel anxiety and needing to have printed, screenshot. And then if we don't get signal, it's no big deal. You whip out the printed copy. You're like, sweet. Okay, let's go. So that was that.
No,
that was
I hear
that.
You.
That's 5 minutes of my story.
And we weren't even talking about your story. I was talking about filter optional and how our friend wanted to tape our conversation, which you just demonstrated that it probably could have been a good episode right there.
I know, exactly. And so yes. I'm pretty sure people out there are just nodding their heads like, yes, Shannon, we understand. Okay.
So today we're going to talk about some things. I just like this.
I said sorry, not sorry, which is
yes. And that's what we're going to talk. That's what we're going to talk about, how sorry isn't enough. Apologies, amends, and the messy middle. Kind of that's the theme. That's the concept that we're going to really talk about. How do you make right wrongs? What we see all the time, what happens over and over is people say, I mean, the word sorry, I believe, is one of the most overused words in the English language. Oh, I'm sorry. People apologize and say they're sorry for things that have nothing to do with them. When you have some conflict, or the messy middle kind of concept, is people really struggle with, hearing the other. I said it earlier before we got into kind of the meat and potatoes of this podcast is, man, we don't know how to listen well. What we do is we listen with defense. What was it? Brene Brown and someone else were, on a podcast or something, and she took some ownership and said, man, that's my biggest thing. When I've heard someone and they're sharing it with me, I'm already getting defensive. I love her raw vulnerability about her own stuff. And she's brilliant, but right. She gets in there and really has studied people and studied on.
Well, she's a researcher. That's what she
and she's great at it.
Says. Yeah.
And she has a lot of great books. And I like how she just says, when I've hurt someone and they're telling me that I've hurt them, man, my go-to is I'm already building a case. I see that daily in my practice, in my coaching, is we build a case. We stop listening.
Sorry can be used that way. Like Brene is saying, where it's so hard for her to say she's sorry, to own it, to apologize. It's just hard for her to just get up the gumption to just do that. And it's not out of being insecure or scared or fearful of the other people. It's a pride issue, which I think comes from, she self admits that. Like she's like, I don't want to say I'm sorry. And then that's also a problem with codependent people because and it's an issue of pride because I say we, because I'm codependent. And I would always apologize for fear of having someone else not like me or someone else not need me or reject me or think poorly of me, judge me. And so every time I would say sorry for everything. I mean, everything, even if it wasn't, you would always say, what are you sorry for? Why are you sorry for that? Or, and I'm like, well, because I'm sorry.
I would bring it up to you, and I'm your husband and I'm a therapist and I've been doing this, a long time. And my delivery, my approach a lot of times was not good. It did not land. And the other thing is when we talk about listening with the same intent, we want to be heard. You would hear it as judgment. You would hear it as criticism. You'd hear it as all those things. I think about the story you shared with me when Carlos actually called you out on it. And it was like, there was like
Carlos was my guide at Onsite when I went for the Living Centered program. And so it was during COVID. And so in order to not wear masks, we had to meet outside. And so we all took our cups of water. It was kind of hot. It was in May. And, we went outside and we were in a circle with our cups of water, and man in our group stood up and was walking to the bathroom or something and kicked over my water. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And Carlos was like, wait, stop, freeze. Like, why are you sorry that he just kicked over your water? And I was like, it sounds so dumb. But it was like, I was like, well, I'm sorry I put it there. Like, I'm sorry it was in his way. Like, I mean, obviously it sounds ridiculous. Obviously. I understand that. But that was my go-to.
Wait for a moment. It's just like, it's like, yeah, when we unpack it, when we do that, that's why I'm saying the word sorry is, I think, one of the most overused words. It was like automatic. It was like blinking your eyes. It was like what you did. And when, we've been married for, over 30 years now, and you would say you're sorry for things similar to that. And I would get questioning, and it's good and it's bad. I mean, it's like, why are you sorry? I mean, I would maybe sometimes snap at you, and there was no, hey, freeze, which is kind of and stuff like that.
My sorry in codependence was kind of the passive way to enter in the messy middle. It's like, if I just say sorry and then whatever, then I don't have to enter the messy middle. It's spilled water. It's fine. And whatever. And I operate kind of out of a feelings standpoint more than a thinking standpoint. And I'm going to explain that because the Enneagram 2s, especially, even, and just my personality, am I good enough? The primal question stuff. I mean, all the personality tests or whatever. And I'm a feeler, not a thinker. And the Myers-Briggs, whatever. I mean, take whatever personality test you want. And just my go-to is to lean into a feeler, more feeling side of things. And so I feel like if I just say I'm sorry, then it alleviates. I don't have to enter the messy middle. It alleviates all that stuff. And I heard today, so I think you come at it from more of an impulsive side of a thinking. And this isn't really you per se. You can say if it's you or not. But I was talking to a friend today that was pointing out the fact she's an Enneagram 7. She was pointing out the fact that she comes at things from a thinking standpoint. Like sevens tend to kind of run from their feelings. Okay. I'm going to land the plane. Just listen. But so they kind of run from their feelings. They don't want to enter the messy middle of apologizing or even saying thank you, showing gratitude, because they have been so used to saying things like, I think this is the way we should do things, or I think blah, 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 kind of basing things on their opinion, but avoiding the words like I feel, which keeps you out of the messy middle also. Does that make sense? And it keeps you from saying you're sorry, because instead of saying I'm sorry, and then we're going to talk about how to apologize, instead of saying I'm sorry, they say, well, I think it should be done this way. It's like a conversation stopper, and they're coming from a thinking standpoint because they don't want to dive into the feelings that come with an apology. So
it totally makes sense. And so, I mean, I appreciate that. So getting back to, saying I'm sorry, listening with the same intent that we want to be heard, realizing that for a long time, it was like breathing or blinking your eyes. You didn't even realize you were saying you're sorry all the time. Until Carlos, told you that at that moment. Help me understand what.
Okay. So what I am saying is that we talk about how sorry is not enough. I want to talk a little bit now about how to give a good apology, because how a good apology works is not just saying you're sorry. And I overused it. And so it means nothing to it really means nothing to me. It was my way of diffusing the messy middle and whatever. I'll just say I'm sorry. I'll just say I'm sorry. But did it really mean anything? No. And so what I want to talk about is
before we get into how we do that, I'm all for this. I'm wanting to unpack this, the healthy ways of what I like to call it is cleaning up our side of the street. And so a lot of it for me has to do with, Alcoholics Anonymous in steps 8 and 9. And step 9 says, made direct amends to such people, except when to do so would injure them or others. And amends is a lot different than apology. And so so maybe we go down that route first.
Yeah, or talk about that. No, I think you should. No, I think that's good.
That's the thing that I really like from just being a guy, in long-term recovery, is like amends is a lot different than saying I'm sorry. Amends is a lot different than apologizing. Amends is really, really taking ownership and cleaning up your side of the street, how you've harmed someone. But before we get into that, we really have to look at when we say we're sorry, what is really happening? If we say, hey, I apologize for this, are we really taking that ownership? What we were talking about early on and using Brene Brown, how when she's hurt someone, she stops listening and builds her defense. What happens? Let's unpack this real quick right now of what is it about saying we're sorry? What do you think's going on with us as individuals when we use that word, when we apologize?
Well, that's what I was just explaining while I think you were a little distracted, but I was saying that that's how I use it, is to deflect and not have to explain myself. It's not that I don't want to take responsibility. It's just hard. It's hard. It's a hard conversation, and it's brings up a lot of fear and shame and all the feelings. I was talking about how I come at things from a feeling standpoint and how it's going to affect my feelings. So for me to just say I'm sorry and thinking, okay, that's enough. I'll just say I'm sorry. I don't have to embrace all those feelings of shame and guilt and anger and sadness and all the things that I would have to go into if I had to go into the apology. In fact, I don't even build the defense really. And then I was talking about how there are people that with different personalities than mine that go at sorry with just a thinking mindset. And so behind their sorry is a maybe building a defense, because it's saying sorry, but I think it should be done this way anyway. So you see what I'm saying?
Yes. And so from me being an 8, an 8, 9, and 1, their gut, 2, 3, and 4 are heart, or what you're saying is feeling. And the 5, 6, and 7s on the Enneagram are the thinkers. And so for me, when I apologize or say I'm sorry, I'm trying to relieve what's going on in the gut,
right.
almost.
And Brene Brown's impulsive. A 1. She's a 1.
And so it's like, boom, right there. That's the big difference. Saying you're sorry. I really hope people come away and see, what are you sorry for? I would ask you those questions. Maybe it wasn't great coming from me, but when Carlos asked you that question, when someone else spilt your water that you had nothing to do with, and you have the right to put your water right where it was.
I think you can self-check. I mean, I think that's kind of advanced messy middle, advanced problem solving, to be able to look at someone and say, what are you sorry for? I mean, that doesn't happen. And I have a real life example that I think is good that stepped into the messy middle, which I actually believe is a healthy way to deal with conflict based on my side of the street, my response, things that I need to take responsibility for. And so I can give that example in a second, but I think that I think you can self-check, ask yourself the question, before you say you're sorry, say, what am I sorry for? And try to practice in your life, not saying you're sorry all the time for everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so if we can frame it up, because I really think, I mean, you told me your example, and I know this example well. Let's really break this down and make a distinction: sorry versus responsibility versus repair.
Right.
And I think this story you have, and I'm going to really listen with the same intent. I want to be heard, but sorry versus responsibility versus repair that's what you're doing. You're going to share a story with us on where I needed to
do all of them.
Yes.
But how do you do that when sorry's not enough? You've got to do the responsibility and the repair.
Yes.
Yeah. And you can do that quickly, even in I'll give my example, but let's say you're in the grocery store and you knock someone's cart or something. I don't know. I'm not going to think it, but you can say you're sorry, take responsibility, and repair it all in 5 seconds. It doesn't have to be this in-depth, messy middle, like whatever, but that is stepping into the messy middle.
Just to writing out all the stuff. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been looking around. I shouldn't have been on my phone. And
I would challenge that right there.
I hope you're okay, or whatever. Okay.
I would challenge that, because we've talked about it a bunch in the sense of it's so common, and I'm just challenging it. I'm not bashing you, but I shouldn't have been. It's like, instead, I was wrong in looking at my phone.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just like, I was literally thinking about this off the cuff, trying to do it in 5 seconds. And so I can try now. I'm sorry. I was looking at my phone. I hope you're okay. Are you okay?
Yeah. I was wrong. I was looking at my phone. I was distracted, whatever. Taking ownership. That's the responsibility.
I'm sorry. I was looking at my phone. Are you okay? That's it.
Yeah.
That's responsibility, and repair. What can I do?
What can I do to make it right? Yes.
So you can practice that in daily life. And you know what? You're going to get more smiles coming your way. You're going to be spreading more joy in the world, because people are going to be like, oh my gosh, that person just hit me, but they took responsibility for it, and they were so nice. Like, that brings on kindness, spreads kindness and gratitude, and you feel better than you would if you had been like, what are you doing in my way? Or, sorry, and then just moving on or whatever. Like, that leaves no one with any good feeling.
Well, but the crazy thing is, yeah, and Brene Brown, she's talked a lot about one of her mentors, Harriet Lerner. Lerner's argument is that a real apology requires the offender to already feel secure enough in who they are.
Right. So
and
that's what
admitting
takes,
their fault.
that's your side of the street. That's
Yes.
you honing in your skills of doing all that. Yeah. I mean, that's coaching, you know?
Yes.
I mean,
And so when we apologize without taking ownership, it doesn't mean the person doesn't love you or doesn't care. It's really, they're like sitting on this rickety platform. You know, it feels like if they really take ownership, they'll collapse. If they really apologize for where they went wrong, so they dance around it. I'm sorry. And you said it earlier, and I didn't say it because I was waiting for this moment. They say, I'm sorry, or I apologize, but do you understand you hurt me? It's like, as soon as you say that, it takes away, you know, the responsibility. There is no ability to be responsible or repair. And, you know, here's my no filter. What comes out of buts? As soon as someone says, hey, I'm sorry, but this is the reason I did it. I apologize. A bunch of shit, you know?
Okay.
And
I was going to say crap.
Yes. But that
Dookie.
You know, when we use the but in apologizing, there is no ability for being responsible, and throw repair out the freaking window. You know, so that's why we're saying sorry is not enough.
So you want me to give my
I
example?
love your story and I love your vulnerability. So paint the picture for us, Shannon.
Okay,
what was happening?
So I have a we have a foursome for golf, ladies golf, that we started taking lessons together. We started playing together.
Okay,
and
but real quick, what do you call yourselves?
Oh, the Ditches. Because this was where the Ditches came from, this tournament. So we the four of us were ready to play in our first tournament. And we didn't know how they worked. We didn't know how golf worked. We didn't know how pairings were.
Beginners.
We didn't know what handicaps were. We didn't know anything, but we had played enough to play in this tournament. So turns out the four of us were paired together in a foursome. And we were like, oh my gosh, that's so great. They know we want to play together. And then we looked and it was like the A players, the B players, and the C players. And then we were like, oh, what are we? And they were like, you're the D players. And we were like, what are D players? And they were like, y'all. I mean, basically, it was like, there is not really D players, but y'all are D players. And we were like, what?
So the D's are like the grades. So they don't even have F's. So y'all, A's were the people that are hitting the ball the best, scoring the best. B, they're
handicaps.
Yes. B's are almost A's. They're trying to get there, but they're not quite there.
And they might pair an A with a B and then a with a C and then a B with a whatever. Anyway, and they just paired the four D's together. So we started calling ourselves the Ditches. Kind of, that's a play on words that I think everybody can figure out. But it has
you even have little hats.
We have hats and all the things. So, and everybody kind of knows the Ditches now. So it's a good thing. We kind of put ourselves on the map for that. But so we're playing in this tournament and it was the four of us. And we don't know what we're doing, but I was in a place, I'm going to tell you mentally where I was. I was helping my parents move out of the house that they lived in for 55 years. It was very emotional and a lot of work and very tiring. And it was emotional for them, for me, for everybody. It was a rough time. And I relied on the golf course to be a place of real quiet, just quiet. And,
kind of sanctuary. A sanctuary.
Yeah. And it's really a nice, quiet spot. So, and I figured, especially in a tournament, like everybody's going to have to be quiet because you're supposed to play by the, big rules. But when the four Ditches were put together, one of them is such a natural encourager. She is honestly one of the most encouraging people that I know. And so every time I hit a shot, she would say, great shot, because she was riding in a different cart. And it just about hole 4 or 5 or whatever of the tournament.
Were you making great shots? Let's paint the picture.
Oh, well, yeah, no. So it would land right in the sand and I'd be like, okay, that was
And
not
you
a
had
good shot.
prior to the tournament, you had been hitting it better. You had been really scoring better, and you show up there.
Yeah. And I was like, I wasn't hitting good shots. And anyway,
You were playing to the real ditches.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. But so on one hole, I did actually hit it and it went right in the bunker. It was on the old 2 at Lakewood, but we didn't start on 2. We started on like 16 or something. So, and I hit it right in the bunker and I was like, okay, that's not helpful. And then, and so she said, good shot. And she's kind of saying it loudly because she's in a different cart. So not on purpose. She wasn't like shouting at me, but she was just said it loud. And I just turned to her and I lost it. I go, please don't talk during my shot or be quiet.
Kind of raise your voice and just kind of
stop saying that. Stop saying that. It's not a good shot. I kind of lost it. Not kind of. I lost it. And so then I get in my cart and my partner, another one of the ditches, looked at me and was like, wow, like, what's wrong with you? She was like, that was
claws came out.
Yeah. She was like, that was aggressive. And I was like, oh, shit, it was, it was aggressive. And so then I started worrying about it the whole time. I did apologize. I said sorry. I didn't necessarily say anything else because there wasn't any time to say anything else. I just said sorry and whatever.
Can I ask a question? I mean, this is several years ago. Did you do the 8? And I'm not faulting you. I'm just asking. Did you do the sorry with a but? I'm sorry, but it wasn't a good shot. I'm sorry, but for yelling at you, but it really wasn't good. Did you do any of that?
No, no, because I said that in the yelling. I said, please don't say that. It was not a good shot.
Okay.
I said that in the yelling. And so the apology was just a simple, I'm sorry I yelled. I'm sorry. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
But you're on the golf course playing in a tournament and everybody got real quiet after that for a while, for 3, 4, 5, and 6 or whatever. Like it was pretty quiet, and,
boom, it was a mic drop. Shannon did the mic drop.
Yes. I could tell on like 4, she was trying to be encouraging again because that's probably her messy middle. She was probably like, oh my gosh, like she was just trying to make me happy, I think. But anyway, so
maybe codependency, but who knows?
Maybe. Anyway. Okay, so we finish up and we probably sucked. And that was fine. We didn't care. We had a good time and we were so glad we were paired together and whatever. Okay. So we leave and come home and, I couldn't stop thinking about it. This is where the responsibility part comes in.
You talked to me about it. You came and you processed. Hey, what do you think about that? And I said, sounds like you kind of lost it,
Yeah. I mean, okay. Thank you. I don't need you to be my Holy Spirit, but, anyway, so I knew I had lost it, but I had to sit there and think, I need to own it and take responsibility, which I did already with my sorry, actually, because I was like, I'm sorry, I yelled. And so then I was going to take responsibility, and then I was like, how do I repair this? How do I take responsibility first and then repair it? So I made the decision to do a text to all 3 ditches, okay? The 3 people that I had played golf with. And I did a group text so that they could see me taking responsibility and then see me apologizing for my behavior and not having a but in there, not even telling them that it was because I was moving my parents and I really needed a quiet space. I didn't even go into that. So I composed this text and just said, I am so sorry. I want to apologize to all of you for my behavior. It was not right. It wasn't a good friend. It wasn't, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, the response was awesome. I mean, the one that I offended was like, I was wondering what I did. I was like, you did nothing. And then the other two were like, oh, that's so nice. You didn't need to have to include us or whatever. I mean, it was kind of a nothing burger, but
here's the deal. It's what I love about
friend
it.
said later that really strengthened our relationship and her trust in me and everything.
Oh, you become her person. When her daughter got married, a few months ago, she wanted you. You are her safe person. But doing that, taking ownership, and if we really look at it, sorry's not enough, and you look at it from the messy middle, a passive apology, might be someone that says, I'm so sorry, I'm the worst, and just kind of almost fishing for reassurance. That's what the passive component of avoiding the messy middle, the defensive
component. But I also know women, and women aren't going to send that follow-up text. I don't know about men, but I don't know.
I agree. But here's the deal is like, I totally agree with you on that. But the thing is, the impulsive person, which, men might do this more than the passive, I'm sorry, but, and justify, you're really messing up my game. If I put myself in your shoes, always encourage me when I went in the damn sand trap. Don't do that. You're wrong. And it becomes accusatory. No, right. The messy middle is, apologizing, saying you're sorry, being responsible, and then how you can, step in there and repair. Naming the specific harm, owning it. That's the messy middle. Without collapsing or counterattacking. You didn't collapse or counterattack. Yes, you had feelings. Yes, you had emotions. Yes, you go, man, that isn't me. But you didn't fall apart.
And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to send the text. And I actually didn't send it until the next day. So it was even harder because there was some time in between it. And I even had those thoughts of like, is this even going to land the day after? And I just quit second guessing it. And I was like, no, I have to send it no matter what.
That's the best part. That's the messy middle. That's taking responsibility and repair, because you're not collapsing. You took ownership on, hey, I wronged this person. I'm going to be responsible for it. I'm repairing it in the way you repaired it. But see, the deal is you go, even it was a day later, and maybe what we do, the passive person pushes things under the rug, sticks their head in the sand. Maybe it'll be washed away.
I find that women in particular just want things to go away.
Yes.
They just don't ever want to mention it again. It's like, just let's not rehash. Let's not beat a dead horse. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. And they just want it to go away. And then resentments build, and also distrust builds, and all that kind of stuff. It leads to gossip. Like, can you believe? Because women need to talk and they need to vent. This example allowed me to not rehash the situation with friends. And it wouldn't be in a gossipy way, but it would come off as gossip, saying, can you believe that,
I wonder what's going on with her. And they start to dissect you, and they start to come up with all that stuff. That's why I love Shannon.
Or even me dissecting the situation and being like, why was she so encouraging?
Yeah. but if you really think about it, what's crazy is, there's this research. We've kind of, alluded to Brene Brown, Harriet Lerner, Beth Poland, all these different people. But 9 decades ago, AA, way before this research ever existed about saying I'm sorry and taking responsibility and repairing, AA got it right when they really talked about step 9, made direct, indirect, and living amends. And the caution against amends as self-relief. No, you're just cleaning up your side of the street. It's not about, getting better, it didn't feel good the next day when you even sent it. It's not about relief. It was great, the responses about landing in the messy middle. It's what does an amends conversation sound like? And it can sound like what you did you didn't just make amends to the one you kind of, snapped at. You made amends to the whole group, because sometimes the amends, cleaning up your side of the street, when we we become impulsive, or even we might even need to I've had to make amends by being, which I appreciate it, but there's truth. At times you've named me Pouty McPout Pants, because I'll just pout. When I pouted, everybody can pick up on it. I haven't lost it. Some of mine is this passive, ooh, I
know an example, but it's okay.
You can give one, go for it.
So in California on vacation.
I knew you were going to do this.
Uh-huh. Well, I think it's a good example.
It's a great example. Can I share it and tell?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, you tell your version.
We took our kids, their girlfriends were in California with us. And then we have all these other families that are hanging out with us. We took them to dinner. They came back. They found out all their age group, the 20s, the late 20s, were at a different restaurant. We get back. Hey, Travis goes, hey, Dad, can you take us to the A restaurant or whatever? And I go, sure. I drop you off. I had texted our other friends, Julie and Dayton, and said, hey, what are y'all doing? They responded. I'm driving them there. And I mean, I'm driving. I go, oh, great. I'll walk with Shannon from our house to the Conklins. She says, yeah, come on over.
And you were calling me to ask me to fix you.
Wait, I wasn't done. Can I?
Okay, go ahead.
Listen with the same intent. You want to be heard.
All right.
I did a good job listening to you.
Go.
Okay.
Go.
And so what the kids are playing music as I'm driving. It's loud. I was going to call her when I saw it pop up. I didn't. As soon as I dropped them off, boom, Shannon, I go, oh, this will be great. I know she can make me a ginger beer and we can walk over there. And I was going, hey, I saw that. I'll be there in a few minutes. And you said, I'm all ready to, this street, Sapphire, it doesn't matter. But I pouted because she had left me, and I drove back and you're sitting on the porch with our friends and and
they're like, where's Chico? And I was like, I'm not sure he's coming.
Yeah.
Because why isn't he coming? Because I left him. I came early and they were like, and
there was
what's
nothing
the problem
wrong
with that?
There was
and
nothing.
you were like,
you
were like, I'm just walking. I'm just going to walk. Anyway, so
I came back.
That's
and
an example, but that's just an example of
where I was wrong, of where I put you in an uncomfortable situation, and I made it right, and we moved on from there. Yes. I was going to talk about also before we end, we talked at the beginning about listening with the same intent you want to hear. Right before this episode, you go to lunch today with one of the girls that introduced us, Kelly. So I've known Kelly before I knew you.
Right.
And I asked you,
I knew Kelly before I knew you. I knew Kelly before you knew Kelly.
You did. And so
anyway.
I go, how was lunch with Kelly? I asked the question.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, I asked it again. And I literally believe you that you told me you had
said
good
you didn't
lunch.
tell me.
And I'm telling you, I said, you didn't tell me. And then when you said, no, I did tell you, I go, I just didn't listen to her. I just didn't listen. And when we're in a good place. We're not upset with each other. There's no things to take responsibility or repair, but there's just times I just don't listen. But if you've harmed someone or someone's harmed you, I mean, we're in a good place right now today. I mean, I know I am with you, but I didn't even listen. But when we're hurting, when we've been hurt, when someone else has harmed us, I can do it even when things are good, not listen. ask questions. I mean, that's the key on that's the great thing about what I love about step 9 is, man, you can make direct, indirect, and living amends, and that's
Right.
where sorry's not enough.
Right. Sort of. I mean, I sort of get your segue, but, and I agree with it. I mean, I agree with all of that. But anyway, I think we could do a whole nother podcast on listening and listening with the intent of, you want to be understood and heard.
Well, and I'm gonna make this pledge to our listeners, to you. I'm gonna really think about some different specific episodes where I needed to clean my side of the street, be responsible, do the repair, and also think about times where I wasn't responsible and I didn't do the repair, and we can come back and do another episode on those things, and just
I think that's good.
Took the easy way out and just said, I'm sorry, I apologize, blah, blah, blah.
And I do think that to top off this episode, I do think that is a parenting win for us. I do think we raised our boys to clean up their side of the street. They've heard us say that a lot. Like, anytime something happens, we were like, you just have to focus on your side of the street. Let's clean up your side of the street. And boy, that has, in our boys' lives, that has ranged from very minor, little bitty situations to gigantic situations, life-changing situations. And so I think that is a great skill that everyone can have, but a great parenting tip, because I always say,
I would take it a step further, Shannon. It's a great parenting tip, hands down. But first, you have to learn how to do it yourself. And if you're not doing it yourself, you can have all the parenting tips and change up the dynamics. We're Gen Xers. Hey, just, we've talked about that before. It's because I said so. No, you got to model. And as parents, we got to model that.
And I've experienced a lot of parents out there that have operated that way and, walked their children to write notes or whatever to say they're sorry. And they're teaching that cleaning up their side of the street. And I've seen a lot of parents that aren't teaching that. And that's a whole nother episode about people taking personal responsibility. I've always said, since our kids were young, that's a little bit of a lost art, is the taking personal responsibility, which I think goes into the apologizing and the amends and all that kind of stuff. I think that goes into it. But anyway, there's the dog.
There's our doggy. All right, great episode. Thank you.
Yeah.